Hey YouTube, how's it going? Thomas here. I was just wanting to go ahead and teach you guys the basics of how to set up and install Ventrilo here today. And I'm going to go ahead and go over the client, the installation process, and some basic Ventrilo features such as things that you should do like in your setups and teach you the channels and all this. This here video is for the people who have never used Ventrilo before. This is the first time using Ventrilo. This is going to go over all the highlights and pretty much everything that you need to know about Ventrilo, being a first-time Ventrilo user. So let's begin. So first off, here we are on Google, and I've typed in Ventrilo on Google, and it comes up ventrilo.com, which is your first link. So we'll go ahead and click on that. Then you're going to go ahead and come here to the ventrilo.com homepage, and it has all the latest news and everything down here about what's going on, and it tells you what Ventrilo is. And it tells you that Ventrilo is a VoIP software, which is an industry standard. So it seems to be a good program. I've been using it for many years, so it is a pretty good piece of software. So now, how does Ventrilo work? Well, you have to have a server to connect to it. It's not like MSN or anything like that. I mean, you actually manage your own server, or you can use somebody else's server. In many cases, most people will use somebody else's server. So if you're actually interested in using Ventrilo for your personal self, you'll probably want to go down here to where it says hosting/rent. So you want to click on that. And you'll come here and you'll see all the different countries and things like that. And I always hit the United States, and it'll come up here, the different hosting companies. As you guys can see them here. And I think that VentriloServers.biz is a good company. They're cheap. I've used them before. They're a cheap service. I used to have sponsorship from them, honestly. But they actually do have good service and good hosting and stuff like that, and decent customer service. But their prices are really good. Now, if you want a really good hosting company but expensive, that's very dependable, go with Typefrag. They're expensive. I mean, it's just, their prices are ridiculous, but they are a very good company. You get what you pay for, and that's true when it comes to Typefrag. But anyways, let's go ahead and go up here to the downloads. And if you actually want to host your own server, you can actually download the server programs, and I'll get into that for another video. But in order to host your own server, you have to cut your firewall. If you got port 4, you got to do all this other crap. So I just prefer renting a server. But if you host your own server, you're only allowed to host 8 slots is the maximum amount of slots that you're allowed to actually have. So kind of an inconvenient. If you need bigger than that, you're going to actually have to buy one or rent one. Or you can use a public Ventrilo server like we offer on freeventrilo.org. That I actually offer. I have a free server that people can use. And if you guys go to GameTracker.com and some other websites, they have a huge list of public Ventrilo servers and just hundreds of servers you can choose from. But you can actually find servers out there for free. And most servers will give away free channels. But anyways, moving on. Now, installing Ventrilo, you need to download the client program. And right here you have different types. You have the Windows 32-bit, and for your systems you have the 64-bit. Now, the biggest thing is like which version do you use? So what you need to do is you need to actually go to Start and open up your control panel here. And once you're in your control panel, you need to go down to where it says System, see System, and you'll click on that. And this will pull up your system information. It will say Windows Edition, and it will say Windows 7 64 Professional, which is what I'm using. Okay, you might be on XP, you might be on Windows 8, I don't know. All right, but then you'll come down here and it'll tell you like your manufacturer and all that good stuff, and it'll tell you your processors, your RAM, but then it says system type, and this is important, system type, and it says 64-bit operating system. Now, my computer is probably about a $2,000 gaming computer, because I use it for video editing and things like that, so I needed a high-performance computer, and a lot of high-powered computers, expensive computers, probably run over $1,000 is going to run on a 64-bit operating system. Computers less than that, if you got a laptop or something from Walmart, it was maybe $500 or something like that. There's a good chance you're on a 32-bit operating system. So it really varies. It's just about the performance of the computer, the pricing, things like that. But I mean, you're just going to have to come in here to your system control panel, go to your control panel, Start control panel, go here, and it'll tell you like what your system type is. You need it's either 32-bit or 64-bit. Now, once you figure out what type of computer you have here, if it's 64-bit or 32-bit, I'm on 64-bit, so I'll just go ahead and click 64-bit here. And that'll take me over here to the download page, and it'll just tell you like you're not allowed to send the software to certain countries. It'll tell you the warning and the copyrights and all this kind of stuff here, your legal agreements. And it'll tell you that it'll say Ventrilo client, Windows 64-bit, all 64-bit platforms. So this is going to be for Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 8, all the 64-bit platforms for what this client is for. So I'm just going to go ahead and accept here, and we're going to go ahead and start this download now. and then we're going to come back and go ahead and install the product once this starts to download. As you guys can see, Ventrilo is currently downloading. It's 3.9 megabytes, so the program is very small in file size. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on Ventrilo down here since it's finished downloading, and we're going to go ahead and open this up and start the installation process. Now I'm going to continue the process of installing Ventrilo. As you guys can see, we have successfully downloaded Ventrilo and we've started the installation process. It says, "Welcome to the Ventrilo client for Windows 64-bit installation wizard." So we're just going to go ahead and go down here and click next. And here's your licensing software. I highly recommend that you guys read this just so you know all the liabilities and everything with Ventrilo and its terms and agreements and all that good stuff. Go ahead and read through that, and then you accept the license agreement, and we'll go ahead and click next and move on. Now we're going to choose the location of where we want Ventrilo to be installed, and by default it's going to install in Program Files /Ventrilo, which is where I would recommend you wanting to install it, so it's going to be easy for you to find. So let's go ahead and hit next on that. Then we're going to go ahead and it's going to go ahead and request that we continue. So now Ventrilo is installing onto our computer. And once the installation completes, we'll go ahead and continue from there with the rest of this tutorial. As you can see, as of now, Ventrilo is installing, and as you can see, Ventrilo client for Windows has successfully installed. So we're going to go ahead and click Finish, and then we're going to go ahead and open Ventrilo. Alright guys, since we got Ventrilo successfully installed, we're going to go ahead and right-click on our Ventrilo icon. And we're going to go ahead and hit Properties down here, and we're going to go to Shortcuts, and then out from Target we're going to hit --M. Hit Apply and OK. Now so what this does is when you click on the Ventrilo icon, you can open up one copy of Ventrilo, and if you click on it again you can open up a second copy. Now if you don't do --M, it'll give you an error message saying another copy of Ventrilo is already running. But this allows you to open up multiple copies of Ventrilo at once. So that's important. So we'll go ahead and close one copy of this since we're only going to need one here. And we're going to go ahead and create a username up here. So we'll just type in new. So the account name, we're going to call it new here, which is the username. And the phonetic, which is actually whenever you join the server, this is what other people hear you as, because when you join the server, they can actually hear you if the server's phonetic is actually enabled. So we'll type in new, and we'll hit play.
New.
And that's what they'll hear. They'll hear new.
New.
And things like that. And then you can put a description of the account and things of that nature. So we'll hit OK. Next, we're going to go to server, and we're going to create a server. So we're going to hit new up here for new, and we're going to call it new server. New server. We'll hit OK. And then you're going to put in your host name or IP. Now, your friends, if they ask you to come on Ventrilo, they'll give you, you'll need to ask them for the IP and port number, okay? Now we'll put our IP address is going to be silver.typefrag.com, and then my port number is 41415, so that's what I'm going to put in here. Now, whenever you get on Ventrilo in the server admin or moderator or whoever, if he creates you an account, the one thing he's going to give you by creating you an account is he's actually going to go in there when he creates that account for you, and he's going to give you a password, and that password you'll come back and put in here. Now, if the server has a password on it itself, you'll put the server password in here where it says password. But once you actually get an account on the server, you'll then put your account password here where it says password. The default channel is where your the channel that you join automatically when you connect to the server. Now, some servers have it set up like default channel. If it doesn't have a default channel set up, whenever you connect to the server, it'll go to your default channel. All right. Then you have basically a set page requests from other users. That's people can page you and things. You have allow user-to-user communication. That's like private chats, things like that, like people speaking to you across channels and stuff like that. Then it has like allow private chat request. If you're in a full screen game, a good example is Skyrim for me. If you're actually in full screen on Skyrim and then someone private messages you, it minimizes the game and the game crashes. It's something, I don't know, it's stupid. But some games actually do that, so you don't want to have private chats, especially with full screen, you know. And then allow others to record my conversations. I always uncheck that. I don't like people recording me. If I say something I might not want someone to hear, but I mean, they could still record you if they're using video recording software, but they just can't record you directly through the Ventrilo client. So that's good. And then it just show login, remote status, yada yada. Most servers require that be checked to show your actual login name. But once we do this, we're going to go ahead and hit OK here. And then we're going to go ahead and look at binds. Now binds, different servers have binds, and the binds normally have to be set up once you're in the server, but you can set up binds to automatically switch channels by just using hotkeys on your keyboard. You can use binds to talk to a certain users. You can use binds to do different things like that. You can use binds to page, switch channels, move channels, mute vent, unmute vent. I mean, binds are just universal. You can do anything. Possibilities are endless, but it all depends upon the server settings. Different servers have different settings, okay? And it's up to the server admin of how they have the server set up based on what you can or cannot do. No two Ventrilo servers are the same when it comes to settings unless somebody has set both of them up virtually identical to one another. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here, and we're going to go ahead and connect, to this Ventrilo server. And as you can see, we're currently connecting to the server. Now, once we're on the server here, normally you'll get a message of the day, which consists of the Ventrilo server rules. And as you can see here, there's actually people on the server now. And the servers themselves in general normally has a unique setup, which consists of blue channels, red channels, and yellow channels. Now, blue channels are public channels. Red channels are passworded channels. And then you have yellow channels, which are user authorization channels. Normally you'll have an AFK channel, which you see down here. And if you click on that and go in here, you'll have an N that comes up in front of your name. Now, N means muted. Okay. Now, if you go into somebody's channel and let's say that there's an account in there that has a P in front of it, well, P means phantom, which means it's basically an admin or moderator. They can actually listen into the channel, but you can't actually hear into the channel. But you can talk to them, but they can't actually talk to you unless they physically come into that channel itself. If you go into, let's say, chat over here, you'll see this will actually open up a chat box, which you'll actually see right here, chat, and in front of the name you can see C for chat. I could switch to another channel, and as you can see in front of my name here, where it says new, it says C for chat. Okay, that means the chat has actually been opened, as you see right here. Now you could actually enable TTS, which means whenever somebody talks to you, the computer program will actually read it actually to you. You also have the timestamp, which basically means the time that the message was sent. So for example, if I say hey, you'll actually see it right here. It'll say new, hey, followed by the timestamp. If I take the timestamp off and say hey, you will not see that timestamp on the server. See new, hey, no timestamp. All right, that's your timestamps. Now, if you open up comments here, this actually allows you to type a comment in, and the comment will come out from your username. So let's say hello as the comment. Now, you can actually see hello here in the description. Now, if I put URL in, let's say google.com or anything in the URL, and I hit OK, you're going to see what's called a U is going to pop up here, U for URL. Now, if you want to copy someone's URL, you right-click on their username, you go to miscellaneous, and you go down to here where it says copy comment or copy URL. If you hit copy URL, you can then go over here and hit Control V for paste, and it'll see google.com pops right up. All right, that's how it works. Now, you can actually click on a username, for example, miscellaneous. Well, I can't do it on myself. I'd have to do it on one of these other guys. But if I go in here and click on this guy, I can go down here to where it says miscellaneous special effects, and you have to actually set the devices up here, which I ain't got them set up, sadly, so it's going to ruin my video. But you must enable direct sounder output. Okay, so we have to set up our voice. So it hasn't been set up yet. So what we'll do now, before we can do that, is we'll go over here to our setup, and you want to get your server set up everything. Right here's the problem. Right here it says default wave mapper. I want to go ahead and use my standard speakers here, or I can use like direct sound and check that. So default direct sound voice, which is normally what you would want to have checked. If you come down here, you can do a test, so you can choose the different types of codecs. If you're using Mac, you're going to have to use Speaks. If you're using Windows, any of these really doesn't matter. I prefer GMS on a server over Speaks, but if you're a Mac user, you can't use GSM. You have to actually use Speaks. The highest quality of codecs is the 32 KHZs, which is normally what most people run on a server. The lower quality means less lag and less quality in the voice. You also have your hotkeys up here, play clicks, which if you have that checked, whenever you press the hotkey down and release it, that'll actually play clicks, so you hear like a beep noise. keep that checked. Then you want to set your control key. I like my left control key on my keyboard. Some people prefer using your mouse button, like your scroll button and stuff. So if you're on an FPS or something, you got your hand on the mouse all the time, that'd be good. And some people use voice activation. I've never liked Ventrilo's voice activation, so I prefer non-voice activation. All right. Now, moving on through our settings here, one of the things you want to do is you want to look at your events here, and when you connect to server, if you see right here, you disconnect from server. One of the things a lot of people do not do is mess with your WAV files, but I like to change. So you see, when users connect to server, when users disconnect from server, let's go ahead and change that. So it basically says, let's go ahead and do that to nothing, and then when a user disconnects, we'll put that on nothing as well. Now, what does that mean? Well, what happens is people will actually come on the server and they'll spam, and they'll disconnect from the server, and then they'll come back and they'll repeat that, and you'll hear like ding, 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 ding. And it's annoying. So what do? You disable, you cut off these sounds right here. You connect to the server, you disconnect from the server. You can cut those off as well so you don't hear it, or you can just disable all of these. But these are sounds and things like that, like when you switch channels, user switch channels, they come in your channels, you leave, just things like that. These are actually good to disable so you don't have that annoying sound, so that's important. Then you have your binding and things like that. You can mess with that. You have your speaks. This is like play speech. This is when the computer talks. You can actually change the different ones, like the text filter. You can put like normal, strong, just some of the stuff. I think, not real sure what a lot of this is, but like right here, network, enable auto connect. That means if you get kicked off the server or you lag out, it'll automatically reconnect you, or you can just disable it so it doesn't auto reconnect you. You can change the client's colors and stuff in here. You have the trays, the ranking. Like down here it says ranking things. That's like the ranks in front of me. As you can see here, see how the little things in front of it. It's always good for server admins to set up ranks on the servers, such as guest, because some people will actually come on the servers and they'll try to impersonate being an admin or moderator and things like that. So always be careful. Make sure you're actually talking to a legitimate server moderator and admin. And I can be an admin on the server. You could be an admin on the server. So make sure when you're using Ventrilo, if you're giving a password or something like that, you're giving a different password. The password's not a password that you would use on your Facebook or your Skype. Make sure it's just a decent password, but it's different because anybody could use that password or get that. You don't know who you're giving it to. Minimize the system tray is also a good thing. So when you minimize Vent, it goes to your system tray, or however you want to do that. You have your layup over here, all that good stuff, more settings here, and your global and things like that, your version and your headsets and all that stuff. So we'll hit cancel that. And just go ahead. Actually, no, we need to save that. I just screwed up here. But yeah, you want to hit save. Oh boy. So let's say what we were going to earlier. Let's say we were talking about the user features, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and close my chat because we don't need that anymore. But for example, this user right here, I can right click on him. I can go to miscellaneous special effects. Let's say I'm having problems hearing this guy. Now, I can't really hear him. So I'm going to hit volume here and I'm going to hit add, and it'll pop up this feature here. This is one of the best things about Ventrilo. I can set him at 100% if he's, by default. Now, if he's too loud, I can turn him down so he's to 60%, so he's not as loud. If I can't really hear him at all, I can turn him all the way up to 800%, which is great. Most of the time, I'll keep Ventrilo actually set at a general 200% increase in volume. Another thing that's good that some people can do, like for example, I'll click on the actual server itself, and I'll hit special effects, and I'll hit volume, and I'll put this up, let's say about 200%, so it's louder than my video game I'm playing, which is great. So I'll just put it maybe like 250, whatever, and hit OK and save that. So every channel in the server is actually going to be louder than before. Now, if I go into a channel, let's say if I'm playing with me and my friends in a channel, and this is like, let's say, a public channel, and I'm going to go in here, I could actually click on the channel itself. And a good thing you can do is you can actually go in here, if it's like a public server or something, you can go in here and hit add volume, and you can put it to mute. So you actually mute the channel, and you hit OK. Then once you're in the channel, you click on your friends, and you actually turn the volume up only on your friends. So you'll set your friends at 100%. So then you can actually hear your friends while being on Ventrilo, but anyone else who comes in a channel, you will not hear them. You will not hear them speak or anything. So it's a really good tip. Now, at the bottom of the Ventrilo server itself, as you guys can see, you have a mute button, which mutes sound on the Vent server. Some people will accidentally mute this. Other people, sometimes you have your microphone here, and your microphone will be muted. Just make sure these are always unmuted, and make sure that you're able to speak in the channel. But overall, this covers all the basic features of Ventrilo. Hopefully this tutorial helped you out. Hope you guys enjoyed watching, and remember, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.